Thanks for joining us again on this special edition of the NCW Life magazine. We're taking a closer look at the proposal to renovate Wenatchee High School with a $150 million bond. In our last interview today, we talk with Wenatchee High School teacher Graham Stansbery about what it's like teaching in a building now more than 40 years old.
So I'm a young teacher. And I'm not that young, as people think I'm younger than I am. But as a newer teacher, I've only been in the district, this is my 4th year, realizing that there's not a lot of teachers out there, and it's really hard to recruit good teachers these days. And the facility has a lot to do with it. And so for me, if I'm looking at a job here, and then I go look at a job across the river at the brand new high school that they have over there, I'm going to want to work over there. Because the environment, the classroom that I get, the windows, the natural light, the open feel, like, that just feels better. That's where I want to spend my time. Like, I spend, literally, this time of year, I don't see the sun at all. Like, I'll stick my head out at lunch for a little bit, but I don't see the sun. So, that takes a toll on me mentally as well and physically. So, just realizing that if we want to continue to recruit teachers, because there's a lot of teachers retiring in the next few years, if we want to get that quality staff, the building itself, the facility is really going to attract that talent, on top of really making sure we take care of the kids and give them the environment that they deserve to learn in. So teachers do leave the building for one reason or another. Now, I think part of it has to do with facilities. Like, I do know one teacher that left in the last couple of years that they're comparing the room that they were moving into. They were talking to me about it, and I've talked to them since, and they're just like, it's night and day. Like the amount of space they have, and just the natural light that they have, and the dependable Wi-Fi that they have, and the tables that they're able to have. It's completely different. It allows them to teach completely differently. So yeah, that's definitely a reality. It's interesting. Teachers, I think, are pretty resilient. They make it work, right? I think the biggest thing is the number of students in a classroom, really, because having 30 students, and that's usually our cap here, is 30 students in a class, and being able to reach each one, like me, our district, I think has a great goal of individualized learning, but 30 students in one classroom, it's really hard to get that individualized. Especially given if you're crammed for space, it's hard to maneuver between them or group them or have differentiated instruction in a way where some people that are moving different direction, faster, they can be in one section versus another section of the room. Be able to differentiate is a challenge when you're limited by the space as well. My first year here, I was on a cart, and so I was going from one room to another room between periods, and there's still social studies teachers that do that, English teachers that do that. So it's a pretty normal thing to happen, and it is unfortunate because the classroom is it's a space, and in teachers, the way to be an effective teacher is to create a safe space for learning. And so if you're kind of renting out your space, it's hard to get that continuous space. And as you notice in my room, I'm fortunate I have my own room now. Is that I have these posters around the room that are the anchoring part of the unit that we're doing. And so when I was rotating around, I couldn't do that. And so I couldn't consistently go back to these things that were in the room reminding the students of what's going on, or I couldn't really post the learning targets how I could, and summary tables and stuff like that. It just wasn't possible. Well, so as a science teacher, I am really fortunate that science classrooms are more in the larger classrooms in the high school, but because of the lab space that we require. But at the same time, when this is full with 30 kids in it, it is packed. And so moving around for group projects and transitions between different activities can be really hard. If I'm doing a demonstration in the front of the class, it's really hard for all the students to really see. Or if we're doing what's called gallery walks, where you go around and you look at what other students have presented, it's really hard for that to happen, just to get around all the desks and stuff like that. But definitely the English and social studies classrooms are a lot smaller than that, and they have 30 kids in there, which is pretty insane, and how they're able to make it work and still do a lot of really good group projects and stuff like that. So. Out about the hallways. It's definitely a lot of students passing at one time, and it's intimidating. They get used to it, obviously. Some of them still don't, and I definitely know some students that have, left the high school for, West Side maybe, or online schools, or Valley Academy, simply for the reason of feeling like pressed, that there was just too much. And so that's one thing that I hear a lot. Another thing with space is just, I'm teaching AVID this year, which is like a college prep class, a college readiness class essentially, and I definitely hear from those students that it's hard for them to get the attention from the teacher that they would like, just because of the number of students, and sometimes it's hard to see the board because of how the classrooms are arranged, just because of the cramped space. And I have a pillar in my classroom. And so if a student's in a certain spot, they can't really see it. So, you work around that. But, I think they need to note that within the bond, Foothills is getting a chunk of change to fix, I think, part of the HVAC system there that's really needing to be fixed. So that is definitely beyond just the high school, but also realizing that within the bond proposal, as I understand it now, is that our athletic facilities are going to get changed around too. I could be wrong, but you might want to double check this, but that we're going to get a new track. And I don't know if the tennis courts were involved in getting tennis courts in this. I think they are as well. As well as, I don't know if there's a softball thing as well. I don't know exactly. That one might not have been, but that is a Title IX issue. So we have these athletic facilities that are going to be updated and improved, and that's a community thing. And so anybody can use our track, anybody can use the tennis courts. So that's a benefit for the whole community. So really selling that point, I think it'd be really good, but also just being transparent on what the ideas of the renovation is going to be, and realizing that we're going to get a completely new kitchen, which will really help the food, which people don't really realize. A lot of our students get 2 meals a day. They depend on the school to provide 2 meals a day. So having a more efficient and up-to-date kitchen is really going to help our community in that respect. And also just having more space and pull-out rooms and work rooms is going to provide the type of learning, the 21st century learning of being able to do projects and have project space and STEM rooms to be able to really do relevant teaching, I think is crucial as well. And one cool thing I've heard from teachers at Washington and Lincoln is just the technology they have in the classrooms. Not necessarily the kids' technology, but how it's wired. The internet is reliable, which this building is notorious for having Wi-Fi being really spotty. And then also the teacher tools about how we can use AirPlay all the time, and then that can interface with student technology. But also, a simple thing is having the rooms equipped with a intercom or speaker that I could wear a mic like this around my chest, and I could just talk normal, and then it would be broadcast throughout the classroom. I've heard from those teachers it's making it, they thought it was silly at first, but it's actually made a huge improvement on just the anxiety, not only of the teacher, but the students. And also during student presentations, you can hand the mic to the kid, and then they have the control of the classroom too. So it really, those little things, I don't think can be undersold. So just making sure that can be communicated. It's it's really respectful of students too. It's basically it's a two-way street pretty much, and people can kind of get past, but definitely if you're walking the hallways, and you remember from being here, it's you're kind of going in your way, and you kind of scoot over and you try to get to where you're going. But so yeah, and I think the biggest thing too though is at lunch. The commons overflows into the hallways just with the number of students that we have, and there's just not enough space to accommodate all of them for certain activities like that. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think it can't be said enough, and I think anybody that's been in the school knows that the lack of natural light is a huge detriment to our learning ability, and so just having that connection to the daily cycle of light, I think would be a huge thing. But also being able to renovate and have classrooms that are up to date. Again, as a science classroom, we actually did get a renovation, I think, in the early 90s. But most other classrooms haven't seen it since the 70s. And then they put up these partition walls that are really thin. in other parts of the building. And so I hear from other teachers, it's like they're competing for voice level as well. And so like, and it's good to have a lot of noise in class, like especially in group projects, and it gets, it's good to control that and bring it back because that's part of the dynamic of the culture of the classroom. But a lot of times teachers have to control that excitement or that energy because the class next door is like taking a test and it has to, they have to focus. And so I think that giving that ability to not only have more of the space, some natural light, but also the ability for teachers to really have their own space would just make students going to that class know what to expect out of that class and just be able to relax once they're there. And then that's when real learning can happen.
Our thanks to all of the guests who joined us on this special edition of the NCW Life magazine. If you're looking for more information about the bond, check out WenatcheeSchools.org. For all of us at the NCW Life channel, I'm Bryce Newberry. Thanks for joining us, and see you soon.